Slightly late, and I see somebody is already here. How's it? Good morning. Um, wow, so today's topic is not that easy, um, but we're gonna go in. I just wanna burn my pepper so that we can speak from the heart and have a meaningful interaction. Okay, cool. So here we are. Guys, sorry I don't do book lamb squad, hey? I struggle with that. So this morning, um, I want to talk about rape and rape culture in South Africa. And I'm going to do so by telling my own story and how I'm affected by the rape laws in this country. So, when in 2010 um, or 2011, because my memory has done a thing where it's blocked out what happened. So I was having a morning city. I feel better now. I was having a fling with a famous person. Um, and it took me a lot of time to accept that, just because I had a fling does not mean that I deserved what happened. And people have flings all the time, and it doesn't mean you have to get raped. So I was having a fling with a famous person, right? And it was fun and wild, and I'm a bit of a good girl in real life. So like the bad boy thing kind of hooked me. So this one night, he comes to fetch me, and he says that, oh yeah, we're going to Nhlanhla party tonight. It's all excited, and his friends are there also. Everybody's excited. We're going to the party. We're going to the party. So he fetches me. We drive to his friend's house. Um, drive to his friend's house. So I can't respond to comments in the first little bit because I want to get the story out the way. So we drive to his friend's house. His friend's name was Wayne, Wayne Jameson, and so we get to this flat. It's a vibe. People are drinking. It's nice. I wasn't drinking, and I was totally sober, and the it was loud and vibe. I think there were like maybe about seven of us all together. So the other people, his friends, decided to go to the garage to go buy something, and they were missioning to go buy. So then they all leave the flat, which was, I mean, it's not a. And then I don't know what happened because then we started arguing with this guy that I was having a fling with. Started arguing, um, and then we were sitting on a couch watching TV, and we started arguing, and then he started demanding sex, and then I was like, no. Then he started forcing himself onto me, and I was like, no. Then I got myself free, and then I ran out the house and ran to the back, but he was chasing after me, and then he caught me. I don't know why I didn't scream at that point, because that was the point to have screamed. A very good opening there. Because we're in my like a complex, so neighbors could have heard and could have actually helped. But I don't know. I was just very very stunned. So then he pushed me against a wall. This is outside. He pushed me up against the wall and had me pressed, like he pushed his body like this, and then so I couldn't move. And then he had his whole body weight, and I also just couldn't believe how strong he was. I really was overpowered. And I tried to fight, I tried to push off I did put up a fight, but obviously I just wasn't strong enough. And unfortunately for me, I was wearing like a mini skirt that day. So it was easy to just lift it up, um, which is what he did. And then I just remember thinking, wow, oh wow, okay, I'm getting raped. Wow. And then being quiet and then just looking the other way because I was just like, wow, I'm actually getting raped and there's nothing I can do about it and I'm not strong enough and I can't believe this is happening. And I just remember just looking away as the whole thing was happening and just thinking, wow, wow, I'm like 30 years old. I've been strong all my life. And this is happening and wow. And then when he was finished, I just walked off. I pulled down my skirt and I walked off and I went and sat and watched TV in the same position. I just kept quiet. And then he walked past and went to the bathroom to, I suppose, go clean up or whatever. And then I just sat there quietly because I didn't have a lift home and there was nobody else in the house and the other people that were still at the garage. And then I just watched TV. I just looked at the screen. And then he just was cocky and arrogant. And then his friends came back. And then I just created a fight. Uh, I was, yeah, like he said something. He's like, yeah, we're going to the party and I'm going to drop you off at home. Then I got pissed off. Um, but obviously, I wasn't pissed off at that. I was pissed off at being raped, but I was using that as a scapegoat. And then the issue started becoming about going to the party. And then, like, we were going to the car, and for the first time in my life, I've never been a violent person. Um, I've never been in a physical anything with anybody. So while we're walking to the car, I just got so angry. I just got so fucking angry. Then I just ran for him and I started hitting. I just was just, because I was just like, motherfucker, you just raped me. So I just started hitting, and then people had to pull me off. And then I just looked like the psycho person who just attacked somebody. Yeah, so his friends like stood in front of him and protected him, and then his other friends dragged me off him. And then I was driven home. And then when I got home, I took a bath and I was crying and I threw away those clothes and I didn't even think about the police station, not even once. I didn't phone anybody. I suppose I decided it didn't happen. So I just fell into like a depression after that. I just used to just stay at home and be in bed and just cry. But I wasn't telling anybody. I wasn't telling anybody. And then sometimes the energy would come off Twitter and then people were like, why are you so bitter? And I just didn't, I just continued. And there was a time I had, because I put together gigs. And there was a time, I think a year after that, that I phoned him and I was like, I'm doing this gig, yeah, and I paid him everything. And I can't make any logical sense of why I would book my rapist afterwards, except for the fact that I really was trying to erase what was happening. Yeah, it was also not a very pleasant experience then, because after I paid him, he was high on the day of the gig, and then I had to fight for him to come to the gig and be like, I paid. But I think obviously the power of what he had done, he pitched up. So I didn't talk about it. So then Me Too came up in South Africa. The Me Too campaign came up. And actually, I think I might have actually been in the forefront of the Me Too campaign, because I was feeling so, like, it was just too much. It was heavy. I was depressed. My spirit was sore. So, okay, so what happens with my story is that, okay, so I don't tell anybody, and I'm just carrying this thing and just lashing out and showing that I'm wounded. And then what happened is that because I'm an artist, I use my art and my writing to try and unpack what happens in my life. So there was a blog I wrote that's available on the internet. It's called Dark Thought. So I wrote about the experience, I suppose trying to get it out of me, but I posted it. Then the way the universe works sometimes, my rapist got arrested for rape. He raped his sister's his sister's child. Sorry, it's a little bit hectic. So when that happened, well, all along I didn't speak up because I also knew that I wouldn't be believed, because he was a very popular guy and people really loved him, and they loved him more than they loved me. So I knew that it was useless to even talk about it. So when that happened, I was like, yo, actually, this guy did the same to me. And then it was part of the Me Too campaign. And then coming out like that exposed me to a lot of hate and people not believing me, and, dragging me. So, despite the fact that he was arrested for another rape, people still struggled with believing that a famous guy and a guy that they like and a guy whose music they love would rape. So there was a lot of backlash, a lot of backlash. I wasn't really supported. And that's when I learned that I I don't need to be validated by people to know that I was raped. It was an experience, a lived experience. And now there are these millions of people outside who haven't even experienced it, who weren't even there, who can speak on my behalf. Which brings me to the legal system. This past week, I saw that the Lady Zamar case was thrown out because of lack of evidence. Does that mean that I was not raped and my story is not valid because I no longer have my rapist semen inside me that I can take to a court? How many millions of women have been raped, and men have been raped, and don't have the semen to prove that they have been raped? So what does the justice system say of that? Yeah. So we've got this thing where we're like, you need the DNA, otherwise there was no rape. There are more women who have been raped and haven't had DNA to prove than there are women who have been raped and have had DNA. Our problem is that we look at rape in a very one-dimensional way, where we imagine it to be some stranger in the streets who rapes you, and then somehow you make it to the police station. This is why we need specialized rape centers and rape courts that deal specifically with sexual assault crimes, because there is an array of ways that sexual assault can happen. You can be raped by a stranger, you can be raped by a family member, you can be raped by a lover. So we need different avenues. And once we have an umbrella of a sexual assault system, then we can address things like false rape allegations, because there will be a thing for that and there will be a punishment for that. But what we can't have is the situation in South Africa where now the false rape accusations and this DNA have diverted from the real issue. We have the highest rape statistics in the world. Women are not safe. If women as strong and as opinionated as myself can also get raped, what of women who are quiet and introverted? How many of them have been raped and kept quiet? If I, as such a big mouth, kept quiet and was so ashamed about this situation, what structures, psychological structures, are in place to deal with rape victims? I didn't go to the police station afterwards because I was in an emotional insanity space. So now you've completely erased the fact that I've been traumatized and a criminal act has acted upon me because I don't have the evidence. How many of us are sitting out there because we don't have evidence of our rape? And this justice system that was created by men, and men are the rapists, is protecting the rapist. This justice system that is so quick to act when women start having Me Too campaigns. We've seen more action in the past 2 years against women using their voices against rapists than actual rape cases being, the rape laws being changed. I need you to understand that we've seen more action against voices speaking up against rape, more legal action than we've had victory in the rape cause. So this system actually works for the rapist to go to the system to protect it. The system is protecting rapists. So what structures do we have in place so that voices and victims can also use the justice system and not be intimidated by money? What's happening is that now the rich people and people in power are able to manipulate the justice system because we on the ground can't afford it. So, as a response to that, I've started a litigation fund. Please just check my YouTube videos, it's up there, for voices that are being silenced by the justice system so that we can pay for your lawyers, we can pay for all the processes, so that we as umphakathi can also have our voice. I've got a campaign running called My Voice, Your Voice. I know it's not payday yet. I'll keep reminding you guys. It's a litigation risk fund for people who have used their voices and gotten into trouble. I mean, you know about Lerato Moloi, who actually, her rapist got her in jail, got arrested. He was like, this person's defaming me. And then she just didn't stop telling her story, and the court systems actually arrested her. So she got raped and arrested for using her voice. let me go to the comments, guys. Okay, yeah, Katleho, amazing that he got arrested. That was just like freaking divine intervention. Like, I had lost the fight, but obviously the fight was still there. Okay, firstly, I'm glad he got arrested. The fact that you had to keep quiet because you were shook and you had no lift home is so painful. Yep. The same applies for a robbery. It's easy for someone to say, I'll do this or that if I'm robbed, but when you're in the position, you become mum and shook. It's difficult for victims to act. Yep, and the court systems are completely ignoring this part, and that's scary for me. Sia Bay TV. Late again this week. Morning, Sisintiki. Morning. You'll catch the